On the next all-new episode of Unicorn Warriors Eternal.
Pull that contraption over. We have you surrounded.
Not really.
I found her! Turn right!
Not again!
Unicorn Warriors Eternal. Next Thursday at midnight. On Adult Swim.
Hello everyone, welcome to Toonami Therapy. Today on April 27th of 2022. I'm Michael.
I'm Tommy.
And we were on a hiatus for a few weeks, so we're going to be catching up on a lot of stuff on Toonami that we were not discussing, as I try valiantly to remember what happened weeks ago while you get to tell me right away because you caught up on all this stuff within the last week.
Yeah.
So I'm going to basically go through some of, I guess I'll just kind of be going through some general things of what happened in each of these shows. So we've got 133 to 138 of My Hero Academia. So Deku kind of went to go off and fight villains on his own as part of some kind of plan and here's the other fun thing. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting myself. I'm going to have to remember where we actually left off, and we'll probably be saying stuff that we already covered. Okay, so so he was going off to fight villains on his own in order to try to lure out All for One or something like that. But then he ends up fighting against this woman, Lady Nagant, who was a good guy, but then she became a bad guy, and then All for One kind of hired her, and Deku fights, but she kind of gets turned around to good, I guess, but gets defeated. And then all the other kids from the class are like, well, look, a lot of us have done absolutely nothing for so long. We better do something. So they all go out and they try to tell Deku, hey, this is a bad idea. You should come back and be with us. And Deku's like, no. And they're like, no, really, it's a bad idea. You should come back and be with us. And Deku's like, no. And they're like, no, seriously, come back. And Deku's like, no. And they're like, come on, back. And Deku's like, no. And they're saying, come on, come back. And Deku's like, okay. Then he goes back and they find out, and first there's some people who don't really want to be around, but don't worry, Uraraka makes a speech and all that gets resolved. Yay. And then we just get some information. Yeah, the bad guys are actually going to be launching some big attack really soon, so the characters are going to have to deal with it. Then the season ends with us seeing basically a gender-swapped All Might. I mean, she basically is a gender-swapped All Might.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was really afraid that this was going to turn into an Attack on Titan thing where Deku turned evil, and then we would have to spend the final season trying to turn him back to being good or something. You know, the same way Eren Yeager went evil for no reason at all.
Well, no, not the final season, just parts 2 and 3 of the final season. I don't know if that's exactly when it was, but I had to put another stab at that.
Yeah, so...
Although we haven't gotten to the final season, part 3, part 2 yet, so who knows what happens there.
Yeah. You have the big speech by Ochako and all these people who are they all of a sudden they hate the heroes, even though their houses and buildings and everything's been destroyed, yet they seem like they want to they hate the heroes like it's their fault that all this happened, and it's like I was like, hold on a second, like isn't the only reason you're alive because the heroes helped you get out of there? I don't know. But I actually enjoyed most of these episodes. I thought it was pretty good. Um, my only real complaint is that it feels like not much like in the realm of battling really took place. It just was like, okay, we've got to spend these last few episodes rallying everyone behind the heroes, but we don't get to any actual conflict with the villains yet in this season, so we're gonna have to wait a whole season for that.
Yeah, we'll be getting like, yeah, in these episodes, all we really had was Deku going against Nagant, and
Right.
then I mean, I guess he went against his classmates, but that wasn't like really so much as they weren't really fight. I mean, they were fighting each other, but it wasn't like, you know, in a like they weren't trying to actively hurt each other. They're just kind of trying to subdue him and spend the whole thing talking about why you should be going back with them. Where I am, yeah, which is why I made that joke, because that's basically the episode in a nutshell, doing that over and over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know if I have that much to say about these. We are going into, but yeah, we're setting up for the big battle thing, which will be the next season, which might be the final season, depending on how long the manga goes on for and how they pace it. Or maybe they'll split it up, and we'll be getting My Hero Academia, the final season, part 2, part 4.
Mm-hmm.
I will never get tired of that joke. I'll actually feel a little sad when Attack on Titan ends, and we won't be able to make it as much.
Mm-hmm.
But that won't happen until final season part 3, part 2 airs later this year. Okay, so after that, anything else to say about My Hero Academia?
No, that's pretty much about it.
All right, then we move on to Food Wars. We got episodes 76 to 79. So let's see. Was it 76 to 79? Yeah, that's how it went. Okay, so basically Soma goes up against, what's his name? Suzuki? I think that was it. Yeah, they had that thing, and the other guy wins because, you know, you have to have Soma lose to the guy so that they can be the person to be overcome. Then they Then they go over into that blue competition, and there's a bunch of challenges they have to go through, and Soma manages to get through them, and then he ends up with he ends up in a in a food war against Esdeath of all people.
You know, there was some weird stuff going on in these episodes. Like Erina had to have her own personal trial, and like her trial involved like competing against 100 people at once. I'm like, okay, is this like one of those chess things that I remember having to be in one of those chess symbols where you'd have a master, and then you'd have the master play against like 25 little kids at once, and then he'd beat everyone. Except I almost beat the master this one time. I was up by a whole night, and I choked it away in the last minutes, but I was winning that. I was the only one who had any shot at winning, and I choked it away. So that always bothers me to think about that because I was so close to beating a master. But yeah, I'm not too big of a fan of this season so far because we've gotten away from a lot of the good characters. Although Meat Meat did show up, so that was good that Meat Meat showed up. But she kind of just showed up for fan service purposes only. Although you could argue that the only reason she's in the show is for fan service purposes. Yeah. So I like these episodes. I am looking forward to seeing what else they've got to offer. But at the same time, you know, I'm like, do we really need this season? Hopefully the answer will be yes, but we'll see.
Yeah. I will just say, if nothing else, having him go up against Esdeath, who has a chainsaw instead of a sword for some reason. I mean, she friggin' looks just like Esdeath, doesn't she?
Mm-hmm.
One thing, let's see, there was one thing I wanted to mention that I thought was kind of amusing. So there was that one episode where they were, the goal was they had to, like, make a food for, like, this old guy, like, and stuff. And that was, like, the challenge to make it. It had to be a really good one or whatever. And they kept using, like, the phrase Last Supper. You know,
Yeah.
Oh, this is Last Supper. By pure coincidence, that episode aired on Easter.
Really?
On Toonami, that's when it aired.
Oh, that's funny.
So yeah, that was kind of funny. Although also the guy was they also mentioned for him, because he, you know, to be dramatic, to show someone at his past, he like points this, you know, gun at them and fires, but you know, it's just like it's not like actual bullets in there. But then he mentions at the and well, I was thinking of killing myself, but at the end of this, so I brought another gun with me that had real bullets. I'm thinking, this is not gun safety.
Mm-hmm.
Like, actually pointing them at the people, even if you know there's not any bullets in them, that's already chancy. Doing it while you have another gun, what if you picked the wrong one? Oh boy. But yeah, mostly this just has been them going through the challenges and managing to go through them. So yeah. Well, that's Food Wars. It's funny, we have so many more episodes, but it feels like we're going faster because it's harder to cover them in as much detail when you just go through them all. All right, then for the last Toonami stuff, we've got One Piece episode 610 to 613. Luffy meets Momonosuke, that kid that the samurai guy was looking for, and he can turn into a dragon apparently. Except Luffy does that after he ended up in like some sort of trash bin, but they managed to, you know, seem to try to get it, but they're trying to get out of there. Let's see. You have some stuff where the other things where, yeah, also Zoro ends up going up against Monet, that, you know, the person who worked for Caesar Clown, she's the one with the wings and stuff. And then Tashigi like shows up. It's like, I'm going to do something, but then she gets beaten. So Zoro beats Monet instead. But then Tashigi does do apparently the final blow. So yay! After all these episodes, she managed to beat someone that Zoro would have beaten anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. Yeah, those are the main things that happened in the episode. The other stuff is, in all these episodes, what's her name is still trying to run away with the candy from all the other kids. I think they could maybe they should just destroy the candy or put it someplace where they can't. But like, how long has she been running away from the other kids while holding the candy?
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it's been a pretty long time. Kids, you shouldn't trust strangers with candy, but also if the person is running away from you and telling you not to eat the candy, you shouldn't be chasing after them either.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know if I have too much else to say about it. I guess we finally met Mononosuke. That's something.
Mm-hmm.
I think there might have been some other stuff in there, but One Piece is always just such a blur for me. Anything else to say about it?
No, not really.
Okay, well, that's all our Toonami stuff. We haven't actually gotten into the... we did, and we'll be finishing Blue Lock next week, the last 2 episodes we have. In the meantime, though, to try to catch up to it, we did watch 2 episodes of Birdie Wing, now that it's back. Do you want to describe them, or do you want me to?
Yeah, you can go ahead and do it.
Okay, so Aoi and Eve are still in the match, the tournament they were in at the end of the previous season, which kind of makes it is this a second season or is it a second part of the season? I never know how it goes. They keep changing the rules on these things. I'm going to call it a second season. Yeah. Anyway, they're doing that. Even more so than in the past, it feels like golf playing involves superpowers now, because like their opponent basically they keep like going in the zone, which they always say in English. They go in the zone. Which basically makes you super great, except if you use it too much, then you mess up. So yeah, the main characters managed to win that. Then they go up against some other. Then they go into another. So they win that. Then they get into the other one, and dang, I just watched this episode, but I can't remember. Did they finish the game, the match? I think they won. I can't remember if they won, and then we got that big thing about Eve's parents. But did it happen after they won? That was after they won, right? They won.
Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to think, did that happen right before or right then? So yeah, we get that. And then she mentions like, oh yeah, by the way, I think my father was your father, something like that. Plot twist.
Yeah, I enjoyed these episodes. Not really much to say about them, though. I mean, it's not quite as fun playing golf on an actual golf course as it is in playing in an underground bunker where, the course can be changed randomly however the people see fit. Yeah, I feel like these were pretty good episodes. I'm very interested in seeing where it goes from here.
Yeah. Now, maybe you remember, because I can't. So I know Eve's got all those like she always goes blue bullet or red bullet or whatever. Has this series explicitly said what the difference between all of them are? I can't remember.
I just think they haven't came out and said it, but it's like a different thing for each shot. Like whenever she's on the green, she uses the green bullet, and that kind of stuff. So
okay.
It's kind of just like saying power shot in Mario Golf. Okay. It's kind of like that. It's the type of thing that ICO 21 used to make, things seem like they were magical whenever they, were just part of the game. You know what I mean?
Okay. Right. Was this the first time she used orange bullet? I don't. If they acted like it was a big thing. Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, because they acted like this was a big thing, and I was thinking, okay, I don't remember her saying that before. So, okay, yeah, we'll see where it goes with this then. So yeah, we'll see if we get the mafia involved again and have more underground transforming golf courses. I know I always mention it, but it's just like I thought the show was kind of dull at first, and then they brought that in, and I'm like, okay, let's go with this. Let's just go with the insanity.
Yeah.
All right, so that was those. I guess we didn't have too much to talk about in regards to those, but there's some other stuff I think we both wanted to talk about. So was there stuff you wanted to talk about?
Is there?
Well, I was implying that you might want to have talked, that maybe you wanted to talk about your trip to Japan or something.
Oh yeah, that. Yeah, that didn't go as planned. So I went to Japan, and everything was good for the first few days, and then I got really sick. So my big trip to Tokyo, well, I went to Tokyo, I stayed in Tokyo, but I never saw anything in Tokyo because I was super sick. So came home a couple days later, got to a doctor just in time because it was kind of rough. Main highlights were we got to see Hiroshima, got to see Kyoto, and some things in Nagoya. But yeah, didn't get to do any of the big fun stuff in Tokyo that I had planned. So it was a bittersweet trip. It was nice to visit the family we were staying with, but it was also kind of difficult because my sickness was so bad that everyone was very worried about me, and and for some reason, I mean, we got lost in the subway system in Tokyo. We took a train one way, then we got off and we took a train back to right where we came, and then we couldn't get off the train. Like, we got off the train, but we couldn't get into the station because somehow we had made it in there with like they were saying we didn't have a ticket, and it didn't make any sense. So yeah, we had quite the time with the Japan subway system. I vowed never to take a train again. So that's pretty much where I'm at with that. Overall, yeah, good trip. Just a lot different from what I expected. Not sure if I'll go back. I know the family we stayed with wants us to come back, but honestly, I don't have much of a desire to go through some of the stuff we went through during this trip. I mean, I want to see the people again, but it's like I hate their train system. Hate it. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I got.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I didn't know that happened.
Yeah, I got sick. I got really sick. It was really bad. It was like people were kind of scared how sick I was. So it's especially being scared being in a foreign country, being in a city with only myself and my sister, and not knowing where the hell we are, and me being really sick. So that was kind of very scary, and it was a difficult trip to Tokyo, but most of the non-Tokyo stuff was pretty fun, so I have to say that.
Okay. Out of curiosity, there's something I was wondering. How, since obviously English is not the native language in Japan, how much difficulty was there in, like, trying to communicate things, like, if you're like trying to find the right subway station or all that kind of stuff, like,
Yeah, like all the signs are in English, but trying to talk to people is kind of difficult because they don't speak the language. So it's kind of like a lot of pointing and stuff. So yeah, it can be difficult.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. I didn't know the signs had English on them.
Yeah, all of them have English on them.
Okay. That makes sense. I assume a lot of people there coming in would know English, and foreign travelers probably, even if they're not from the U.S., would probably know some English. So, yeah. Okay. That's interesting to know. I didn't know. I just kind of suddenly wondered about that. Okay. So, all right. I'm sorry that didn't turn out the way you wanted.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess I might as well mention, because we kind of dropped it because you weren't super interested in it anymore, and because you were also, heading over to Japan. I did end up finishing Fate Apocrypha.
Okay.
And so you might be wondering, like, whether that was you dropping was the right or the wrong decision. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say it was right, but in terms of, I wouldn't say you were wrong to drop it. I think you were wrong to drop it when you did, because you should have gone for at least the next 4 episodes or so, because they were really good. Because Fate Apocrypha, here's basically kind of like its general how it works. So you start out and you have like these 2 factions. Each of them have their own groups of servants. So you have like each one has like a caster, a saber, and all the rest of them.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of setup, and then we have this big battle, which is right before you left, between the 2 factions. And then, after we have that big battle, some of them die, some of them actually switch sides. Then we have a bunch of more preparation stuff for another big battle. Then we have that big battle. Then we kind of deal with the aftermath of it, and then that's the end of the series. So the battle stuff in the series is fun. It's good. It's fun to watch. The fights are good. The rest of it is not that interesting. So that's kind of how I would put it. When the characters are fighting, it's fun. It's usually pretty fun and it's good. And then when in the time between it, I am thinking, wow, I don't really care that much about what's going on or these characters. So yeah, I think you should have gone maybe at least like 4 or 5 more episodes to see like the fights that were coming up, and then you could have been like, well, okay, I won't go through the boring stuff again to get to the exciting stuff again. So yeah, that was just my general thoughts on it. I thought if I had to look at it overall, I think it was okay. It's definitely a big step down from Unlimited Blade Works. It's the thing everyone said. There's too many characters and it gets kind of confusing. Like, especially the original Fate Stay Night, it had what? You had like the 7 servants, and then you had their masters plus a few other characters along the way. That basically required 3 routes to be able to give everyone complete story. So even Unlimited Blade Works didn't get everything. Here you have more characters and only 1 series, so obviously that happens. So yeah, I thought it was decent. Not as good as the other ones. It's I mean, if you want to see it for spectacle fights, they're fun and cool, but the plot itself is kind of weak and the thing. So through a bunch of it, there's this one character, and they're like, I want to do this thing to fix up the world and bring everyone salvation or something like that. And I'm just thinking, there's so much of this, they don't actually bother to explain what in the world they mean. So I'm thinking, okay, this is supposed to be a bad thing apparently, but what is his actual plan?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Could I take a break for a minute? I'll be right back.
okay.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay. Well, I actually don't really have much else to say about it. That was ironically, unless you had anything you wanted to ask.
Yeah, who won?
Basically, well, it's kind of weird to say who won because, like I said, a bunch of characters kind of switched sides.
Mm-hmm.
And so ultimately, I guess like the factions at the end were different. Basically, I can tell you some of the more specifics after the podcast. I don't want to just blast out spoilers to everyone.
Okay, yeah.
I want to just, but I guess you could say in a way we all won. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's it. I don't think I had anything else to talk about. So this week with My Hero Academia, well, it's finished, and they decided that they're going to give us 2 episodes of Primal reruns to replace it. And then they're going to be showing, and then 2 weeks afterwards, they're going to be showing, what was it called? Unicorn Warriors or something like that. We'll see if we'll be checking that out or not, because it's not an actual anime. Supposedly, we're going to be getting, after these next few weeks, they're going to have some new anime thing. So we should be getting that. In the meantime, I don't know exactly what we'll be doing. We will still be checking out Food Wars and One Piece for this next week, and we'll play it by ear subsequent weeks, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Besides that, we're planning next to, in regards to non-Toonami stuff, we'll watch 2 more episodes of Birdie Wing, get caught up with that. We'll watch Blue Lock and get caught to finish the season. And after that, we'll figure some stuff out. We have some ideas, but if we don't promise anything, we can't disappoint. All right. I don't think there's too much else to go through, so I will say we're back and, well, about the same as we were before, honestly. Not better than ever, just the same. And we'll probably be the same next week, even if we will try to do better. See you then.
Bye.
Hey, we're back. We realized we forgot to give our usual top 3 stuff at the end of it. So, we're doing that now. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, my number 1 show of the week was Food Wars. Number 2 show was Birdie Wing, and a solid performance by My Hero Academia, which finishes in 3rd.
Okay. Well, this one is harder for me to evaluate because all the stuff blurs together and such for me. So I think I'm just going to try to figure them out. I guess I will for it's got an unfair advantage, I think, because I saw the stuff, because this one I had 2 episodes for, but sure, I'll put Birdie Wing in first place there. Everything else was just 1 episode this week. After that, we'll go My Hero Academia, and then let's see. Let me just review myself. And then I'll go for Food Wars.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the top 3. Sorry, One Piece. Maybe you just needed to have Esdeath, and maybe you would have done it. Okay, and that's our actual ending. Hello, and welcome to Toonami Therapy. Today on May 4th of 2023, I'm Michael.
I'm Tommy.
And we're here to talk about some anime. and some stuff on Toonami, which was less because they decided to just spend the first hour on reruns of Primal. So I don't even know what episodes they were. I didn't check. Maybe it was, I wonder if it was like first or second season. Oh well. Anyway, so yeah, we've just gotten 2 shows discussed on Toonami. We've got some other things to watch. Or wait, did we watch Naruto?
Yeah, we did.
We watched Naruto. It's just I can't remember anything about it. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, I can barely remember it. Okay, so we got 3 shows, and then we'll finish with Blue Lock, which we had at the which we kind of left off before, and are catching up on Birdie Wing. So that's a bunch of sports stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. Let's get right in to it. So we've got episode 80 of Food Wars. So Soma manages to beat Chainsaw as Death, and then Tsukasa goes up against Asahi, but because Tsukasa is the boss, Tsukasa is a final boss character from the previous game, and Asahi is a final boss character from the new game. So obviously the old boss jobs to the new one. So Asahi wins, and we find out he literally has Mega Man powers, in that this is what the series says. It says if he takes someone's knife, he gains their abilities. So yeah, that's and that's basically the episode.
Yeah. As usual, I was disappointed because there was no Erna in this episode, and that's how I judge every episode. But about this episode, I noticed that this guy is being built up as this really good chef that, and my question is, why is that a bad thing? It was like in the previous arc, whenever Erna's father took over and stuff, it was a bad thing because they were trying to limit people's creativity with cooking. But now it's just oh yeah, he can beat everyone. But it's well, why is that such a bad thing? How does that make him a villain? Except for the fact that he wants to marry Erna. I mean, aside from that, though, I feel like he's not really doing anything wrong. So I have a harder time rooting against him as I did with, whereas it was very easy to root against Erna's father.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now that I actually I'm just suddenly remembering, did they have, the anime is kind of a blur because a lot of it I haven't seen for a while. Did the anime have the bit where he does that weird sort of because in the manga there's a part where it's the point where him and some of those other people who worked with him, including Chainsaw as Death, although I can't remember we see her with the chainsaw there. Where he basically kidnaps Erina for a little bit. Did that happen in the anime?
No.
Okay, well, so I guess they took out one of the things that was supposed to, well, I mean, it was one of those more kidnapping things where it's just kind of to threaten her, not because he lets her go, but I'm okay, that's something that shows he's not a great guy, but I don't think the anime had it.
Yeah, I don't remember. Now that you said that, it's going to happen in the next episode, and we're going to be spoiled.
I know it was before this point, because this was the first time I remembered this because I was looking up something about the character her name is she's called Sarge in the show, but I'm always going to call her Chainsaw as Death. because I was trying to see what the first appearance of her was, and that was in that scene. And I looked at the manga, and I was thinking, oh, they didn't have that in the anime because they like reordered and rewrote some stuff. I mean, I guess they could put it in later on in this season because, like I said, they reordered some stuff, like the thing where they went to the beach that opened the season in the manga. That happens later on originally. So I don't know, but there was that at least. But yeah, in terms of the anime, I mean, I guess he's just kind of a jerk. But other than that, you're right. He hasn't really done anything actively villainous now that I think about it. Like, I don't think he's like, I don't remember him sabotaging anyone in any thing.
Yeah, he's just really good. That's like all there is to it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think of that. Okay, so we got that, and this is actually mostly the interesting thing is I can kind of remember the stuff up till this from the manga, like not super well because I forgot about a bunch of the stuff that's changed, but I'm thinking, man, everything from this point on is mostly a blur outside of a few things, so I'm going to see how it turns out in the anime. Then I think this is starting the point where people started disliking it, so we'll see how it goes. Okay. So One Piece, episode 614. So, as has been the case for the last, 6 or something episodes, Monet is running away with the candy to prevent the other kids from eating the candy because the candy is bad. So, and our heroes who are so powerful that they've got these giant bounties on them and are able to take care of all of those. Well, the previous arc was literally all about how strong they are now, who can take on these big things of pirates, are apparently unable to stop, some rampaging kids. So due to that, Monet ends up, No, her name's not Monet. Mocha, that's her name. Monet was, Monet was like the bird lady. I got it mixed up because they both started with Mo. Yeah. Mocha, to prevent them from eating the candy, just eats them herself, because it's like the candy's really bad or poisonous somehow. And like Chopper, I guess that fixes the thing, but Chopper's like, okay, I need to do medical stuff to save her. And so that was mostly it from what I remember. I mean, we had a flashback in which Chopper mentions all the stuff about how the candy is really bad, which we already knew, so I don't know why we needed to do that.
Yeah, I didn't understand why we were. It seemed funny that we were replaying that whole thing. It was like, I thought this was established at least 10 episodes ago.
Yeah. Luffy and Mononosuke managed to get out of the garbage chute, and that's basically our episode. Well, at least we're finally done with the kids chasing after her, because that just went on way too long.
Yeah.
I think I made jokes about it in the previous episode about how long it was going on, and then it continued on to here.
Yeah, really not much progress in these last how many episodes. It just feels like this battle is going on at a snail's pace. And I wish there was more to say about it, but it's just like each episode like just really pretty much does one thing, and then the next episode does one more thing. There aren't like multiple things happening in the same episode. So yeah, was there a flashback in this one?
There was the flashback to the thing where Chopper first tells Mocha about how the she's saying, it's not just bad, it's like if you keep eating it, it'll probably kill you. That was the flashback we had.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't like a death flashback.
No,
we didn't have any of those. I thought we were going to have one of those in Birdie Wing, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I know we keep saying, oh, stuff doesn't happen in One Piece, but it's because they just don't take breaks. Because they're in Toei Animation insistent on making a new episode every week. That means they can't go ahead of the source material. So they have, and it's a weekly manga series. So that means you got to make each chapter into one episode. Which of course means you have to, and they don't want to do filler arcs either, so they just pad stuff out. It's like, yeah, this is one of the things that, like, Black Clover went on break. Great for it. Go ahead, take a break. It'll make it so we won't have padding or filler when it comes back. Or the other things like My Hero Academia or other things. Like, Toei, just take breaks for the series, but they don't. It's too popular, I guess, or this is their business model or whatever. And the worst thing is, from everything I've heard, oh, sorry about that. I just got something on my phone. From everything I've heard, the pacing just gets worse as it goes along.
Oh, that's great news.
Yeah. Oh, we're doing a chapter into an episode now. Later on, we end up with one chapter into multiple episodes. I am legitimately afraid of seeing the Wano arc animated, because Wano in the manga, that dragged on way, 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 way too long. And I'm just thinking, an anime where they have to pad it out? Well, don't worry, we won't be getting to that for years. Okay, so, yeah, anything else to say about One Piece?
No, not really.
Okay. In that case, I need to go do something quick. I'll be right back. Yeah, sorry. It's my turn. Usually you're the one who has to do something. So, yeah. Okay. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So we've got our other shows. We got Birdie Wing and wait, hang on. No, wait. We did have Naruto. We had Naruto. Yep. It was Naruto episode 437, I think. Well, it's still all a dream thing in the infinite Tsukiyomi. So this is, and I don't know whose it is, but apparently this is part of a larger story. So I guess it's all supposed to be some alternate hypothetical timeline. I have no idea what was going on in here. Apparently this is one where Naruto's father is still alive, but I've got nothing else to really say about it.
Yeah, didn't Tenten actually do something in this episode? And that was like the telltale sign that it was a filler episode.
Yeah, I think she did do something, but yeah, this bit of filler, because a bunch of this stuff is just, brief 1 or 2 episode things showing certain characters. Apparently this thing is part of a much longer, 19 episode or something story.
And we don't even know whose it is.
I don't know who it is because I only watched this episode. Maybe it explained at the beginning, but I mean, look, I'll give them credit. If you're going to do filler, a part where where most of the cast are having weird dream things, it's not a terrible place to put to use for a bunch of what if stories. I don't think they had the Shadow Clones going on strike though. That will always be the filler episode I remember. That and the one with the Froggy song.
Oh, yeah. That was the funny thing is, for the longest time, I thought the Froggy song was canon, and it turned out that was just filler.
Yeah,
so.
I thought I thought it was canon, and I just kept thinking, gee, I don't remember this from the manga, because that art they actually kind of integrated it into the larger plot and like you had some of the the villains and stuff show up in it, and of course when you look back at it you realize, oh yeah, the villains, they like don't actually do anything. They just spend most of it not interacting with the main characters. But I didn't realize until midway through, oh wait, the reason I don't remember this isn't because my memory is bad, which it often is, but because it was filler. So yeah. All right, I can't really say too much about this episode because I didn't have the context. It was just a whim that we even watched it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now we move on to the Birdie Wing. We got 2 episodes. Now we're caught up with it.
Mm-hmm.
We've got episodes 16 and 17. So we get the information about their like backstory stuff. So we thought that they were sisters, which they kind of are, but not exactly. So I'm going to hope I get this backstory right, because it was a little confusing. So my understanding is this. So Aoi's mother was wanted to marry this one guy. And she got pregnant by him, but then he wasn't able to marry her because he had to win because her father insisted that he win some golf tournament, and he wasn't able to because he got an injury. So he kind of went off, and she married this other guy instead. And that other guy is who I always thought was her father, but wasn't. And that guy, the other guy that I always thought was her father, was the actual father of Eve, with some other woman he met in the past. And he actually raised her somewhat, but she had amnesia, and I can't remember. Did he die? I think he died, maybe. I can't remember the whole what happened with him. And then we find out that Eve's mother was the daughter of some mafia guy or something, who and then that's the case. So she kind of, without explicitly saying her relation to him, manages to meet him, and by beating this other person in golf, get him to, because he figures it out even if he doesn't say it, to help her become a professional golfer, because she wants to play in the tournament against Aoi, but she couldn't otherwise, because Aoi's mother didn't want her to. And also Viper's back. She appears. That was kind of, it was a little nice to see her again. And that's basic. So I guess Eve is going to try to become the professional golfer officially. I don't know if there's an official way you do that or not. You could tell me, but she's doing that, and we got all this backstory stuff on us.
Yeah. So before I talk about the golf part, could you possibly explain, does this mean that Aoi and Eve are related?
They're kind of by adoption, but not by blood, because the person who to try to go through it again, as I understand it, because this was kind of confusing. The person Aoi thought was her father was not her biological father. And the person she thought was her father was actually Eve's biological father.
Oh,
so that's how it all works out there.
Okay, so it reminds me of Sister Princess, where if you do well enough, then with making your sister fall in love with you, then it turns out that you're not related by blood, so it's okay to have a romantic ending, which is so wrong. But so basically, if she wanted to become back to Birdie Wing. If she wanted to become a professional golfer, I mean, there's basically you would either enter the minor tour and work your way up from there, or possibly get invited as an amateur to one of the big tournaments and do well enough that you get an exemption into a professional tournament. But I'm still confused though, like what this whole backstory, this whole flashback, like why it was like so important, like because I was under the impression that, oh, this must mean that Aoi and Eve are sisters, but as you say, that's not the case, and I'm totally confused by it because it's like, okay, then we got all this backstory, but how does that affect the plot of the show now, you know?
Well, I mean, it does make them not related by blood, but sort of by pseudo adoption, because the person, because Aoi's, what is it technically? What's the technical name? If you like, I know her adoptive father, because he's the person her mother married wasn't her father, but she thought it was her father. Is there a technical name for when your mother doesn't marry your actual father but marries another guy? That's not a stepfather, because they weren't like married. Is there an actual term for that? Adopted father? That doesn't sound right.
Stepfather?
That's what I was thinking, but doesn't stepfather imply that there's a previous marriage for one of them?
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, that's such a confusing and convoluted like backstory, and then Eve's like, the granddaughter of this like mafia or yakuza, I can't remember which one of them was, guy, and I'm just like, thank you. Birdie Wing, you've gone insane again. Birdie Wing went insane and got great when Viper showed up, and now it's gone insane again and gotten better when she showed up again.
Yeah, I'm just I want to see Catherine again, because she seemed like a pretty evil person, and I thought that she would make a good villain, and then maybe we could have some more underground golf again,
Yeah, I wonder. They did mention her several times, so she might. Oh, so yeah, there's all of that. Also, it's funny you mentioned that in Sister Princess. Oh, if you like make her fall in love, it turns out she's not your actual sister. Fire Emblem Fates did that in one of the thing. Well, okay, so technically it's not exactly the same, because a person, Ryoma, that was his name, you like didn't know him up until this point. So there's not like this sort of more weird thing of, we grew up together as brother and sister. So like the game, so only if you get an S rank with him, with a female Corrin, Fire Emblem Fates, Corrin, the main character, you can set them as male or female.
Right.
So female Corrin, the S rank, he like says, oh yeah, by the way, we're not related by blood. My father, you were actually the daughter of this other person, and my father took you in, and well, then you got brought to this other place later. That's why you didn't know each other up until this point. Man, Fire Emblem Fates was convoluted. It did not have a great story. Anyway. And then he's like, so we are not related by blood, so don't worry. Yes, we can totally fall in love and get married and have kids with the mechanic in this game where when you pair up characters, you can have them have kids with each other, and then there'll be characters and you can recruit them. because after they're born, we send them off to this alternate universe thing where they grow up super fast, and then we can recruit them, because the child mechanic thing was super popular in the previous game, but whereas it made perfect sense in that game because there is time travel, and sorry, that's actually kind of a spoiler, but we needed to put it in this game even if it doesn't actually make much sense in context.
Yeah, actually, that kind of was the way the Sister Princess thing was, because it says you're invited to an island, and then all of a sudden you find, oh, these 12 girls here, they happen to all be your sisters, even though you never met them or anything. So there's no backstory of actually being their sister. So, and then if you do well enough, then you find out, oh, they're never your sister in the first place. So, yeah.
So sorry about my weird rambling thing. I just do find
that's okay.
I just do find the way they forced a child mechanic into Fire Emblem Fates to be kind of funny, because it was in the previous game Awakening where there's actually like plot justification for all of it, and then they just put in Fates and it doesn't make sense, and I don't even mind that. I'm just like, that's just a little funny thing to kind of point and say, oh, that's kind of silly, but they wanted to keep this mechanic. There are bigger problems with Fates than that. But I'm sure plenty of other people can talk about it. Anyway, okay, so that was Birdie Wing. Yeah, that's it for Birdie Wing. I guess we can go into the last two episodes of Blue Lock, which were episodes 23 and 24. Right, okay. So, so basically what happens is, Isagi managed to, block the ball, but it ends up kind of bouncing into where Rin, was, I guess that's just an androgynous name in Japan, but whenever I hear Rin, I think of, like Fate Stay Night, and now we have a male character with his name.
And Inuyasha, too.
Now, yeah, Inuyasha, too. Anyway, so Rin manages to take the shot, and so Isagi's team loses, but the other team picks him to be on their team. And, Isagi's thinking, okay, so how did I lose? What did I do wrong? And he gets told, well, it was just luck, and he doesn't like that answer. And then Ego comes and in about the most needlessly roundabout way possible explains how it is. And I'm like, oh, Ego, all you have to do is just, is basically just explain the point. Yeah, sometimes there's a luck element, and you should try to position yourself to take advantage of that, luck. So basically, Rin did the right thing in getting to the place where, if luck had happened this way, he would have been able to make the goal. And I'm just like, that's all you have to say. You don't need to get into convoluted metaphors involving questions about getting pooped on by pigeons. Like, I'm like, a Magic the Gathering player could just sum it up in one sentence: play to your outs. Maybe other game players have that phrase. I just know in Magic the Gathering it's a phrase. It's like, the trading card game, it's like there's luck in what you draw, and the suggestion is, you play to your outs. Are you losing? Okay, think about what would win you the game if you draw, and play as if you were going to draw those. Anyway, that was another tangent of mine, but it was shorter than how long Ego rambled on about that at 4. So we get that our new team ends up going against these 5 super great international players who end up crushing them. We then find out, the other people who managed to make it through with like the 5-person teams. Remember how a few episodes ago we got it established that trader guy, the guy who kept getting forced to be the goalie, and can't remember the other one. I think he was just a short guy, like formed a team at the thing. Well, it looks like they all got eliminated off screen. So, so we got that. Then, because of the fact that the people are kind of so the people actually financing Blue Lock are saying, hey, you're kind of costing us a crazy amount of money and this whole thing seems kind of dumb, so we're going to stop it. But he convinces them to let it keep going if he can have his players beat like like the U20 team or something in a game of soccer. So I guess, so they're going to try to do that, I guess. And that is essentially where our season ends.
Yeah. I was pleased to see my favorite character survive. He was the second to last person to be revealed, so they kind of built it up there, but Rayo made it into the finals, and then that crazy guy was the last one who was revealed. So yeah, we've got we've got this set up for this second season, which is inevitable due to how popular this show is.
Oh, I mean, they announced it. It's official. It's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One thing I did want to mention that I thought was a little interesting was because I did not want to wait several weeks to see the ending while you went to Japan, I did watch these 2 episodes subbed while you were gone. And it was I just wanted to mention, it was a little interesting, the bit with the foreign players, because they have them speaking, even in the original Japanese one, they're speaking English. That's why you might have noticed they got those Japanese subtitles on screen while they're talking. And it was just a little interesting in that I noticed I'll be fair, the guy who they had be the native English speaker actually sounded like a native English speaker. Whereas most of the rest were kind of obviously people who did not have English as a first language. But to be fair, their characters didn't either. So just wanted to mention that. I did find it a little interesting that that in the dub, they like kind of danced around that because instead of our characters mentioning, they're speaking English, I don't know what they're saying. And this one, it just said, because of the accents and the distance, I can't hear what they're saying, to kind of, I guess, dance around that fact a little. But then you still have the part where they're trying to learn the English on days of the week. Which is just a little funny when when he's unable to say Wednesday, and I'm like, you guys say these all the time. I know it's because it's dubbed, but it's still funny that they went a little out of their way on this. But then here they're still have to confront it. Yeah. Other than that, yeah, I thought these were fairly decent final episodes. I will say though, I don't remember it being annoying before, but did you find Isagi's constant inner monologues kind of annoying in these episodes?
Yeah, they were.
Because I don't remember ever having an issue with it before, but I was watching these episodes and I'm thinking, stop thinking all this to yourself. Most of this is just stating the obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically it for the Blue Lock. End of the season, end of the series up until we get the next one. I don't know if they've announced any actual date for it, but let me see if yeah, we've just got a second season announced, but we don't have anything about when it will actually be, I don't think. But yes, we do know there will be more coming, so that's good, because I thought this was a pretty good show.
Yeah. Yeah, you found this one, didn't you?
Yeah, I was just trying a bunch of. Yeah, it was when I was just trying to check out all the shows and see which ones I thought the new shows. I wanted us to try to see some of the new shows. So I watched all the new ones and kind of narrowed them down. And then I ended up with, let's see. Yeah, and then I narrowed it down to this one and Chainsaw Man. So, 1 out of 2 for wasn't bad.
I thought you also had Licorice Recoil in
No,
there.
Licorice Recoil was for the previous season. It was things got all weird the way we ended up with that. No, the other one we started watching at that point. We had finished with Licorice Recoil at that point, or at least we're close to it. It was Ruby Ice Queendom, which started the previous season, but they took so long to dub it that we started watching it at that point. Which is just funny because this should have been one of the fastest possible turnarounds for a dub. They, Rooster Teeth had who made the original Ruby. They have the property. I assume they were in communication and had all the stuff, but. I mean, Crunchyroll can do it. They had a few series this season be literal simultaneously dubbed. The subs and dub came out the same day for why Raeliana ended up at the Duke's Mansion. And I think there was another show, but I can't remember. So that's why we ended up with that being kind of late. So yeah, it was good. I was actually a little more skeptical about it at first, but we checked it out and kept going, and it turned out, very, very good. Good show. And there were, some kind of goofy things, and I'm not sure about what I think about the fact that they're actually kind of drawing attention to the kind of goofiness of the premise, because I'm like, well, now that you bring it up, this doesn't make much sense. So it's not. So on one hand, it's nice they do. On the other hand, by drawing attention to it, it makes it harder to take it seriously. What would have happened if someone in Birdie Wing had ever said, "Hey, don't you think that there could be that you spend maybe a little too much money on this underground transforming golf course?" Or even just said, "What when we have an underground transforming golf course?" Couldn't there be better and more profitable uses for it than playing a single hole to decide things between the mafia? I mean, I'm sure there must be a lot of people will pay really big bucks to go here. But yeah, fun show. Definite. Glad I stumbled across it and suggested it. Anything else?
No, not really.
Okay. So yeah, if anyone wants to wants to know what happens next, they can there's a second season coming, but there's a manga also. I don't know exactly where the anime leaves off. I think based on chapter titles, I think you would want to be starting around is sometime in volume 11.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's it for Blue Lock.
Yep. Oh, we have to do. Man, it's been so long. Except for last week. But I mean, I totally forgot about top threes. We only have 4 to choose. Well, no, we have Naruto. We have Naruto. I'll just add that in there just for the heck of it. Not that it's going to make the top 3. Okay, so number 3 for this week. I'll put Blue Lock in 3rd. I'll put Birdie Wing in 2nd, and I will put Food Wars on top yet again.
Mine is literally the opposite order for that. Food Wars in 3rd, Birdie Wing in 2nd, Blue Lock in 1st.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so. All right, that's all of those. So we're going to be trying something a little new for the next for our next podcast. It seemed interesting to try to check, because I've tried, before suggesting, hey, how about we try a new show or some that's airing now to be a bit more, so we can watch something while it airs or whatever. So I went through the and I'm going to try that again, but I'm doing it a little differently, where I'm just going to pick 4 shows and we're going to watch them, and then you are going to choose which ones we actually keep around. We might be dropping one next week. Even we'll just drop it until we get down to a few more, and then bringing some new stuff, which I achieved by watching almost every single new show on Crunchyroll, which it's weird this season. Compared to last season, it's a better season. There's better shows, but the bad is much worse than last season. There's you just going through these, you just kind of feel a little soul crushed at some of the isekai stuff. It's like, oh, it's the same thing. So basically, what I did is I just watched all the stuff from this season for Crunchyroll and for the last season on High Dive, because if something's getting a dub, we'd prefer to watch it that way. And High Dive is kind of slower in announcing their dubs, and plus, I don't mind watching something if it's just subbed and not dubbed, but I want to at least know it's not going to be dubbed anytime soon. So that's how it goes. So I went through all these things, managed to narrow them down. So none of the new stuff from High Dive is in contention here, although I did happen to watch Too Cute Crisis, which I thought was actually really, really funny. And a great thing about that show for anyone is that I feel you can kind of tell if you'll like it based on the first episode. So I would actually recommend it. Worst case scenario, you waste half an hour. But that's not going to be one of these because it's a pure comedy, so there's not much to discuss. So basically, we're going to have those 4 shows, then narrow them down. So if you are upset about the fact that a series is not in these top 4, blame me. If you're upset about us dropping one of those 4 series, blame my co-host. Because you're going to be making the decisions here. All right, so we've got Hell's Paradise, My Love Story with Yamada-kun at level 999, Why Rail Liana Ended Up at the Duke's Mansion, and Konosuba, An Explosion on This Wonderful World.
Yeah. Konosuba, that was kind of my pick out of those 4 because, well, it's Konosuba. Now, it is going to be Megumin, and we're going to find out for sure now whether Megumin is best girl or overrated. We're going to find out for sure. So, C is on trial, kind of like how Q put Picard on trial. So Megumin is on trial, and if she doesn't do anything in this, if she doesn't perform well enough in this series, then she will permanently be stamped as overrated, and Darkness will be given the throne. But we'll see. Maybe Megumin is more interesting than just saying the word explosion all the time. So we'll find that out.
We will. And of course, if you don't, and of course, the series itself, just like the other 3, is tentative. We might be dropping it soon. We might be continuing it. We will see. We have to drop some shows because there's some other stuff that we actually want to watch that's on hiatus before we get to this. So we'll be dealing with it. We might be dropping one next week, or maybe we'll stick around for 2 weeks. We make no promises, so we will not disappoint. So yes, those are our shows again. We've got one more time. We'll be checking out episodes 1 of Hell's Paradise, My Love Story with Yamada-kun at level 999. That's such a mouthful. There must be a shorter way to say it. Just Yamada-kun. Sorry. Why Raeliana Ended Up at the Duke's Mansion. Actually, I think I think that's Crunchyroll's name, but an alternate title is The Reason Why Raelion Ended Up at the Duke's Mansion. And the Konosuba and Explosion on This Wonderful World, the spin-off. That's it. And, wow, we sure talked a lot longer than I expected we would. But I guess we had Naruto. That's when I said that, I thought we didn't have Naruto. But Naruto was there, so that made the difference.
That's okay.
And that's it. We'll see you next week, and we'll see how we end up thinking about these series. I've watched them subbed, but I'll be watching them dubbed now. So we'll see how that works out. I don't think there's anything else to say. Is there anything we're forgetting?
No, not really.
Okay, yeah, we talked about that. We did the top 3. We did do the top 3, right?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, you're absolutely sure about that?
Yeah.
Okay, in that case, I don't think there's anything else. We'll be back with you next week. We probably will watch that Unicorn Warriors Eternal. I have no idea if we'll like it, but we'll at least give it a shot because it's on Toonami. And
yeah, it's ineligible for the top 3 because it's on an anime. So
okay. That is the current plan. We might change it. We make no promises, so we will not disappoint. In fact, I do not even promise that we don't make promises. That is not a promise of mine. So I am not promising that I will promise to not make promises. And that will be something for you to try to figure out the meaning of until next week. See you then.
Bye.
Obi-Wan, Mace. Star Wars is back. In celebration of the May 16th release of Star Wars Episode II Attack of the Clones in theaters, Cartoon Network's giving you the chance to be a part of the Star Wars saga and become a Jedi.
Someday I will be the most powerful Jedi ever.
Just go to CartoonNetwork.com and register for your chance to win the grand prize, an exclusive personalized action figure of you as a Jedi Knight.
A Jedi? What do you know?
For the first time ever, you'll get a shot to step into the shoes of a Jedi. Pretty sweet, but that's not all. 500 runner-up winners score either a flipping Obi-Wan or Mace Windu action figure. The first action figures with real Jedi powers. Only Hasbro action figures have the power of the Force. Log on now, and may the Force be with you. Star Wars Episode II Attack of the Clones in theaters now.